Ottawa arrests two Freedom Convoy protesters organizers as police chief vows to take back the city. For those of you who don't know, the previous Ottawa police chief resigned. I think he was probably pressured to resign. It was more of let's say, a negotiation between him and yeah, and the city, and I don't think he had much of a choice in the matter. So, for those of you who don't know, that this has been going on for 3 weeks, up to 20 days, I think now. Uh, the trucks that's the longest convoy ever with trucks that I know about. The Guinness record was 7 kilometers. This was 70 kilometers, or 50 miles, if I understand it correctly. So the city has been been blockaded um, for a while now, and calls for Justin Trudeau and his parliament to sit down and speak to these truckers and the leaders of this, or the organizers of this, has gone unanswered. Justin Trudeau hasn't made any effort to speak to them about it, except for calling them racist, fascist, fringe minority, and even gone as far as in Parliament calling one of his Jewish leaders a Nazi. Yeah, assisting Nazis. So this guy's just totally, he's totally unreal. But what do you expect when when he is a supporter of the Chinese government? He says that that is a good, that communism is good for the country because it got them out of a recession and fixed the economy. He's also a big fan of Cuba's ex-president that died and was very sad, and yeah, the dictator that died. So this guy's totally nuts. He's also friends with George Soros' son, so he's definitely one of the elites. His dad is one of the people who wrote up this Freedom Charter, as I understand it, and he is the person that's now invoked this. You know, he's now invoked this government policy to fight a bunch of truckers who are peacefully protesting. Now, the policy states that the country needs to be in danger and all kinds of things. So, what he's done here is not really something that is legal in the eyes of the Constitution and what was documented by these predecessors. Now, just want to read a little bit about this. Let's go to this article. Ottawa police began arresting organizers of the self-styled Freedom Convoy demonstrators Thursday night. According to a spokesperson for the group involved in arranging the protests, hours after law enforcement pledged to bring an imminent end to the demonstrations that have paralyzed Canada's capital for weeks. The arrests of Tamara Lish and Chris Barber were confirmed by Dagny Pollock, a spokeswoman for the Freedom Convoy. One of the main group's organizers of the demonstrations. She said that Lynch, who leads the group, was detained on a charge of aiding and abetting mischief. Ottawa police declined to comment. Now, if you look at mischief, I mean, that sounds to me like, something like Home Alone, the movie Home Alone, where the kid stays at home and, he eats pancakes for breakfast and ice cream for breakfast and stuff like that. That is the kind of thing that that, that I think about when looking into mischief. But the fact of the matter is, under law, if you are detained for mischief, you can be locked up for 10 years or ridiculous fine. So this isn't a small matter, and I know it's going to go to court. These guys have got lawyers on retainer for that are working for free for them, but still, I mean, the police have now gone as far as to arrest people, and these truckers have, as this is probably the most peaceful protest that I've ever seen. Nothing has been burning, nobody's killed. These guys are they're shoveling the snow from the sidewalks. Crime is down by 90% in Ottawa, in the capital, in that area. I mean, this is so much. The police have gone as far as to um, take the fuel um, trucks that came in to give trucks fuel, because that's the only way they're sleeping in the trucks, and it's the only way that they can heat up. And there's people with children there, so they've now engaged the child. They want to take the children away from the parents. Firstly, they've been blocking and taking away the fuel. People started carrying it in jerry cans, which they also then took away. And then in protest, instead of standing there burning out stuff, what they did is they would fill one jerry can with water, one with petrol or diesel or fuel, and will leave one empty. So eventually the police just gave up because they didn't know which jerry cans had what in it. So this is the kind of things these people have come up with, and there was a court order that went out to stop them from honking the horns of the trucks, which they complied with for 10 days. And all that they wanted is for the officials to come sit down and speak to them, which hasn't happened. It's basically Justin Trudeau just goes and calls out martial law, and intends to lock up these people for no good reason, for them wanting their freedom. Because a lot of people are under the impression this is all about vaccines. This is not about vaccines. This is about government overreach. This is about dictatorship. People want their freedom back. I mean, 85% of Canada are vaccinated. Okay, so a lot of these truckers are vaccinated, but they're still saying that they are sticking around there because this is getting ridiculous. Where is it going to end? Because now it's a double jab for vaccination, then it's the booster shot, and every 6 months it's going to be another thing, because it's now been proven that the boosters of the actual shots only works for 6 months. Then you can get corona as well. And with Omicron, and I am no medical expert, so but it seems Omicron is like a lighter version of COVID, and people aren't dying of it. So you're looking at herd immunity, and what is better for your body, getting a shot or actually going through this illness and having your body build up its own antibodies against this. um, but let's get back to this. The arrest began shortly after police descended on downtown Ottawa core and cornered off a wide swath of the city with nearly 100 checkpoints. It's time to go, Interim Police Chief Steve Bell, speaking at a news conference, told the protesters, who have remained defiant in the face of repeated warnings. Your time in our city has come to an end and you must leave. Bell said police were hardening the perimeter around the city and had designated a large area as a secure zone where access would be limited to residents, workers, and police officers. Because what's happening is that they are putting out jumping castles for children. They're playing music, and people are joining the party on weekends. So they have an influx of people on weekends. So this isn't just uh, a trucker convoy. This is a bunch of people who are joining this convoy on weekends. And because this is, as he says here, officials have been keen to avoid a repeat of previous weekends when the crowds swell, particularly because this is a long weekend. So they are expecting a crap load of people, and people will be coming from everywhere. That I can promise you. Um, I implore anyone that's here or there, get in your trucks and we will navigate safe passage for you to leave our city streets, said Bell. We want this demonstration to end peacefully. That sounds like a threat. There is a deliberate plan, there is a commitment, and there's the resourcing that we now have in place to end this. So they asked for additional 1,800 troops, which they now received. I'm not sure whether or not the army is involved yet. Um, so the truck's horns and music that have blared nearly incessantly since late January were intermittently quiet as officers began to mass in the cold drizzle of Thursday morning. But the demonstrators who came here to protest coronavirus pandemic restrictions and the government of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau continued to mill amongst the vehicles jamming the streets around Parliament. And see, like once again, they're making it about the corona pandemic. It's not about the corona pandemic. It's about Justin Trudeau's dictatorship and um, the unreasonable. What is very strange to me is that he's now saying that it's costing the country billions and all kinds of things because truckers are blocking some of the bridges. Um, and so there can't be any trade between America and Canada. But the thing is, how much money did these business? He's not thinking about the businesses that had to close their doors, about the trade that didn't happen while they put in all these strict restrictions to flatten the curve. You know, a lot of businesses lost, people lost their businesses. A lot of people, lost their jobs. So it's okay for him to invoke something like that damages the economy. But when the people themselves, who I don't know why, but voted him in as prime minister, when they do something, then it becomes a major problem. So you're not hearing about any of the damaging, restrictions that he's put in place. And I hope the truckers stand stand beside each other and they don't give up. There is one person actually. Um, the streets are very well, so they're policing the streets, not the police themselves, but the truckers have set out people to keep people away that will be causing trouble, like Antifa, and agitators, but this one trucker was offered triple the amount of money for his ticket that he received from the police for $79 because they wanted to keep it as a as a, you know, keep it as a rep amelia or whatever. And so it's been kind of funny. And he said no, he's going to use it to take them to court along with the other truckers and keep the government in court for years on end as long as they can. These guys are in there for the long haul. So, and whether or not this is going to end in violent protest. From what I can see, if Justin Trudeau doesn't let up, there are policemen and women speaking out against this. Um, they have a bunch of ex law enforcement officers, ex-military people that have joined, and yeah. So I hope this goes on.